Greetings, greetings, greetings. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is well. So last week you guys got into a module about taping, and so the next couple of modules we have to do with tissue response to injury and the psychosocial components of physiotherapy and using it as an intervention and also being mindful of it. So this week, as we talk about tissue response to injury, we're looking at things that you've probably experienced in life. So one of the things that you probably experienced is blunt trauma. So you have brothers and sisters, just your own activity, you've bumped into something and you've caused some trauma to yourself, and your tissue responds in the same way to each of those. So at minimum, there's going to be an increased blood flow to the area. You're going to have an increased pain response to that trauma, and your body is going to, in that increase of blood flow, you're going to have an increase in white blood cells. In those white blood cells, as we know, we have leukocytes and phagocytes, and they are going to begin to reconstruct damaged tissue. And so, and in that process, there's going to be some inflammation to get us to decrease our movement. And then there's also, there may be some spasm involved. So if there's so each area, if it's just on the skin, then there may just be a pain response, and there may be just a slight increase in blood flow. If it breaks the skin, then obviously there's going to be, some blood flow that you can see. And that's going to, you'll see a visual, of the tissue's response to injury. So if you've ever cut yourself, scraped or whatever, what happened? You cut yourself or scraped, you saw blood, it bled, it dried, and it created a scab. And and eventually under that scab, healing was taking place. So trick question, if anyone ever asks you, when does healing start? Healing starts immediately when the injury happens. So if you cut yourself right now, on anything, then healing starts. If you roll your ankle, healing starts. If you twist your knee, healing starts. If you tweak your back, healing starts immediately at that particular moment. And so, at that initial moment, then you begin to have an increased blood flow, and you get the white blood cells, and they're coming in and they're looking for stuff to fix. Okay, what's broken? What do we need to do? What do we need to fix? What do we need to fight off with regard to infection, et cetera, et cetera. And so, in the learning modules, you'll go over some of the basics of tissue response to injury this week. So in addition to that module, you have another Learn Smart module involving psychosocial and how we use that in sports medicine to treat injuries. So a paper I wrote a long time ago had to deal with what I called at that time new pain. And so if any of you guys are really active, and grew up, playing sports and just kind of being active, then you've done some things that over time you just gotten used to. So take, for instance, if you play football or basketball or some type of contact sport or soccer, you have injured yourself. And so initially, if you played soccer, you got kicked in the shin, you probably thought it was the end of the earth, the end of the world as you knew it at that particular point in time. Over time, you get kicked in the shin and you're like, oh, no problem, and you keep moving. Um, Basketball, jam fingers, rolled ankles, same thing in football, different things, hand trauma, uh, rolled ankles and knees and back, and you just kind of learn over time how to uh, deal with those injuries. But going back to new pain, so there's no pain like new pain. So, um, kind of a case story in my career, I had a patient, professional basketball patient that got injured, during a game, and he rolled his ankle, and it was um, what I would consider to be, at the time I considered it to be a grade two, but as I had a grade two ankle sprain, which means that there was some uh, ligament, trauma, and but over time I would kind of downgrade it to more of a one plus, a grade one ankle sprain. So he rolled it, he popped the capsule and of the joint, and it got the little grapefruit on the side of his ankle, and he'd never been injured before, which is bizarre. He had never so much as broken a fingernail playing basketball his entire life. So this pain that he was experiencing was excruciating, and it was horrific to him, and it caused him to be in a psychological space that um, kind of hindered at the time, and initially the rehab process. So to give you some quick background about grade one, grade two, grade three. So grade one is minor trauma. You don't have a real loss of uh, of mobility. And grade two, there's some a little bit more severe trauma. You got lots of inflammation, loss of mobility, and you're unable to move the joint. And then grade three is a complete disruption. Excuse me, of the joint. So you think about a Dak Prescott, something that happened recently. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. So Dak Prescott had a compound fracture of the ankle, which means that the fracture broke the skin. So he's got a complete disruption, not only of internally but externally. So the trauma broke the skin and also disrupted the joint. So that would be a grade three. So going back to this case story here that I'm telling, he had a grade one. So grade ones, if you've played basketball, chances are you've had a grade one ankle sprain, and you kind of you rolled it, you tied your shoe up real tight, and you went back and you played. So this particular athlete, this was really early in my career. He missed about 3 weeks. Missed about 3 weeks of time, roughly. I can't exactly remember how much time, but I was getting some dirty looks from my coaches and management with regard to how long he was staying out. And I had to explain to them that he had never been injured before, and he was processing this injury. So from a psychosocial standpoint, we have to consider that when individuals get injured. So he'd never been injured before, and here he is processing not only the pain and like, hey, am I going to be able to play again? What does this mean? Am I going to get cut? Do I still get paid? What about my family? All these going through an athlete's mind. Think about it. If you look back again, I have not seen the actual injury to Dak Prescott, but if you look back and see him getting rolled off on the cart, that his tears are not just tears from pain, They're from all the thoughts that are going through his mind as to what does this mean for him as an individual, as a quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. So, he's thinking about, man, I didn't get paid, you know, and that may be the prevalent thought on his mind. Or, man, I'm not going to have an opportunity to play the game that I love ever again. And these are the things that go through an athlete's mind. And so, as a clinician, we have to use sports psychology, in the way of an intervention, along with our other modalities, to get that athlete back, to help increase, their confidence, their thoughts, and also their social place. So one of the mistakes that we would make in our profession initially was when someone got injured, we kind of put them off to the side, and we dealt with them every day. However, they were away from the team. And so socially, they could get into a really, really dark place, go through depression, all those sorts of things. They have all these other thoughts on their minds about, man, what does this mean? And then when they come back to the team, it's like they're a new player, and they don't know how to process all of these psychological and social things and feelings that they have about their current situation. So as clinicians, we have to implement some, psychosocial aspects into our rehabilitation. And so the module 10, we'll go through some of those and, explain it, and it'll be fun. So briefly, I'm going to talk about the modules. Make sure that you go through the Learn Smart modules and that you complete them in their entirety. So don't confuse the Learn Smart module with the actual text. So the module has, just some basic things, go over some key points. And once you complete the module, it grades you, gives you a 100 for completing the module in the grade book. So make sure that you complete that. So that's all I have for this week. All grades will be updated. I know we've had some problems with, not really problems, but issues, whatever you want to call them, with McGraw-Hill Connect, porting over all the grades. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Each week after you complete your modules, send me a screenshot of your grades and your grade for the module. Send me a screenshot, that way there's no discrepancy. Also, if you used your personal email to sign up for McGraw-Hill Connect, go into your settings and change it to your morehouse.edu email. So that's all I have for this week. Have a great week. Go vote. I voted yesterday. If you're in the city of Atlanta, there are several early voting sites. State Farm Arena takes about 20 minutes. Took me 40 minutes yesterday, but I heard that today that it's about 20 minutes. So go vote. Exercise that right to vote that many have fought and died for. This is still relatively new, but anyway, I'm not going to get into a political discussion. But anyway, go vote. All right.